Will AI make my child obsolete? The real fear isn't technology, it's worth. That's what we're going to talk about today.
I'm Jerri Penland Yoffee.
And I'm Jacob Yoffee, and this is Raising Digital Humans.
And good morning. Thank you for joining us today.
Yes.
I think to kind of just rip the Band-Aid off here, I think one of the biggest questions about AI is jobs.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where are jobs going to be? Not just, a year from now, but like 20 years from now. What exactly should we be looking at? And the main problem is, and this is going to be such a funny thing to say, but, I go to like ChatGPT and I say, hey, like what kind of jobs is AI not going to be doing? And they're like, well, we do tasks. Okay, well, everybody does tasks. People do empathy. Well, how can I make that a job?
Yeah.
You know
Being
what I mean?
empathetic.
Like,
does that pay the bills?
it does not pay the bills. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I think that's kind of the thing right now. Like we can talk about school and we can talk about that stuff all we want. But is AI going to inevitably change learning too?
Yep.
So.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the things I'm seeing online are questions like, what if my kid grows up and there's nothing left for them to do?
Mm-hmm.
What if machines do everything better? Our oldest son, he's only 7, and he asked, can we help stop the robots so that he can have something to do when he grows up?
Mm-hmm.
Which is kind of crazy that a 7-year-old would even have that thought.
Yeah.
So it definitely stuck with me when he said that.
Yeah, I guess the question is, what are we saying around him that make him feel that way, you know?
Well, when AI headlines talk about replacing jobs every single day, it kind of hits something deeper than that, because it's like, all right, and that's not just jobs, because humans, we inevitably kind of, I guess our identity is swept up in what we do.
Yep.
I feel like I felt a great sense of accomplishment and pride and value in becoming good at what I do, or I feel like I'm good at what I do.
Yeah.
And then if all of a sudden you have no value because a robot can do what you do for free or close to free, faster, cheaper, probably better, it's subjective, but yeah.
Well, I guess the question is, what is it doing? Because right now, at least from an art standpoint, of course it's creating some pretty cool things, but like it says empathy or emotional creativity, I think it's not there.
Sure.
So I think that's what it's saying, but that's creativity. I mean, not everybody is meant to be an artist, is the thing. And
sure.
And does the world need millions of artists?
Right.
Do you know what I mean? So it's like
everybody can't be a content creator.
Yeah.
And they're, when you ask AI, a lot of it is like, well, this is a good job that's available, being a content creator. It's like, oh, great.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, definitely, I think a lot of people in the arts feel threatened, of course, by it. But I think that there's still at least this moment in time where, like if I'm asking it to make something for me, I'm still having to go in and manipulate it or,
sure,
to get it to look the way it should look, at least the way that I want it to look. It's not like it's picking up right away.
Right.
So it still needs human interaction in that way.
Well, I think there's a lot of arguments that I've heard that make a lot of sense, where they're saying our taste is what makes us us. And so as artists end up using a lot of AI, our taste still matters, because, very often if you're working with any of these tools, you ask it to do something, it comes out and you say, well, that's not very good.
Yeah.
That's not what I wanted. Now, if it's just like, oh, I need to get like a logo image for the top of this flyer for some event for your kids, maybe that doesn't matter. It's sort of like back in the 90s and 2000s when people might use Microsoft Paint to make a flyer for their kid's birthday party. Like, are you really going to hire someone? Do you need a professional artist for something like that?
Yeah, so just those little things might be a little bit easier. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, that's funny, because I just did kind of like a goofy, drawing on a piece of paper for like a lemonade stand or something like that. And then I uploaded that to chat, and then it took that and it made a really cool looking flyer from that. You know,
Sure.
so that's pretty neat.
Yeah.
You know,
But you would, it's not like that was a job that
Yeah.
was taken away from somebody. We would never pay someone to make that.
yeah.
Yeah. So those types of things aren't scary. But, you know, I think what's the big fear is like the entry level jobs. Like I've talked to people in several different industries where AI is replacing kind of the starter positions.
Yeah.
And, you know, sales, you know, you've got engineering, you've got trucking, you've got, of course, the arts, where a lot of those like kind of minion jobs that would get you in the door are being taken by AI. So then you really have to come in at a higher level.
Yeah.
Because they just aren't going to let someone, you know.
Yeah.
And
yeah, it's like we've taken away the internship, essentially. And now we have kind of this, you know, the remedial job now that's going to be replaced with AI. And so it's like now we're going to be missing that other step of people getting into the door. So then,
well, maybe it'll
how
bring
do you-
back internships in the traditional sense where they literally don't pay.
Oh, I'm sure they would
And
love to that.
you just intern till you learn, and then when you're good enough to basically be a mid-level
Yeah.
employee, then you come in
Yeah.
at a higher pay rate. You know, I don't know. That's
Yeah.
above my
Yeah.
pay grade.
That's
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess the conversation we're supposed to be having is,
Sure.
you know,
Well, like my thinking is that all of this stuff, it is scary, but I think if we look at history, if we follow what history has done, and we don't think that this is some new thing that we've never faced before, new jobs will appear. We can't really foresee exactly what they are yet, but like here's some examples of in the past when things became automated. You know, the Luddites, English textile workers in the early 1800s, they literally smashed the power looms because mechanized weaving automated 98% of the labor needed to weave a yard of cloth. So they feared total obsolescence. Then you had Henry Ford's assembly line in the early 1900s, and it turned skilled craftsmen into line workers overnight. People feared cars would be built without humans at all, and instead, wages rose and millions of people got jobs and we got cars. Then in the 1970s, we had the ATMs come in and bank tellers lost their jobs. But obviously, the opposite happened. It made branches cheaper to run. More banks were opened all over the world. So more jobs actually appeared because of that. Then you had spreadsheets versus bookkeepers in the 1980s. That ended up growing accounting as an industry. There's more jobs. Then you had the internet versus everything. While the travel agents and newspaper classifieds, a lot of video rental stores disappeared, but then we had new industries, and that's really what I'm counting on. I mean, if you think about it, all the companies, the AI companies that didn't exist, well, at least in the public's mind, Anthropic, OpenAI, we had DeepSeek from Gemini. You have Perplexity. You have, of course, XAI, Grok. These companies really weren't on anyone's radar, and now they've become like these billion-dollar entities. I don't know how many people work for them. But now I think you've got Kling AI. You've got all these other AI, Replit. You've got all these Cursor. There's all these new companies that are using the AI technology, and each company, right now at least, has employees.
I mean, and the question is like, okay, so right now we're in the beginning of AI, you know, but where's it going to be 20 years from now when AI is, the only reason I bring that up is because like our sons are going to be in school in this time. And it's like, what direction do you help point them in at that point? Do you know what I mean? Because it's like, I would hate to have like, be like, okay, son, go into school for, you know, be a doctor or something like that. And then that industry essentially be kind of obliterated, and you've paid how much money to go to school. I mean, what do you do?
Well, this is a thought that I had, and I was faced with it a couple days ago. So imagine early 80s, all of a sudden you had a MacBook. You would be light years ahead of anyone else, the amount that you could accomplish, right? Well, right now, if you're using AI to its fullest capability, you are ahead of your fellow human. But eventually, everyone's going to be on the same playing field, just like eventually everyone got a personal computer. We all have the smartphone. And so there's not really like it's all there for you to use. So for instance, I was interested for exercising. I wanted to make an app And I was like, I just needed something really simple, and I needed to have like a double timer that would kind of like when the first one ended, an alarm hit, second one started. And I tried making it, and it was very rudimentary, didn't really work very well. I spent not that long on it. But then I had a friend who had been working with Cursor and Replit and spent a couple weeks, and he made an app. And he sent it to me, and it was extraordinary.
Yeah.
It was just like, wow, I would pay money for this app. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
We both used the same tools to make it. He spent way more time and energy and actually developed something worth a damn. And mine, I'd spent like, 20 minutes and was like, it works for me, but I'm not going to like put it on the app store or anything. But it kind of showed me like, well, once everybody has these tools, we're all on an even playing field again.
Yeah.
So then it's back to like how hard are you willing to work?
Yeah.
How smart are you?
Well, I think when it comes down to it, it's always going to be about the human need. You know what I mean? Because that's how we make money is, the human need of things. You know what I mean? Not just the need, of course, the want. But, in the end, it's always humans that kind of drive, things in a specific direction, like you're saying.
Sure.
So, I mean, the question is, what direction is that going to go?
Right. Yeah.
So like when you ask them, it's so weird to say, chat, Claude, Grok, all these different guys. Oh my goodness. I'm like,
You're calling them guys now. All these guys.
What do we refer them to? What pronouns do we give these things?
It's they.
They, yeah.
Yeah.
These AIs, everything that they give me for jobs everything is deeply human connected.
Right.
So human to human, human first type of idea.
Right.
So I think through all of this, you got to figure out well, that's hard to say. Like, of course, we're always going to be humans, but like, I don't know. And where am I going?
Well,
with
I
this
think
thought?
that all this human, we're going to value it more. So like if you go to a concert and it's all being performed by humans, you will understand the value in that somebody learned how to play the cello so well, and then there's now 80 musicians on stage that can perform all together, and they're trained and they devoted their life to it. You're going to realize the value in that.
Yeah.
Which right now it's like,
what about
seems
higher
commonplace.
education? Like,
yeah.
The question is like, so when you use, Claude, it says at the bottom, like, Claude can still make mistakes, type to. Is the thing that is always going to be, are they always going to make mistakes? Are there always, because like, my dad's a chemist. And so, he gets frustrated with, people that are upcoming in the chemistry type of field using the AI to do mathematical, my brain just stopped working.
Yeah.
Well, mathematical concepts and all of this stuff. And they're not relying so much on themselves or relying on the AI. But then he was finding mistakes. Yes. And so it's like maybe AI at the moment at least can get you to the next step, but it's not going to like in those types of fields. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
Like,
well, that brings up like the big concept that we wanted to talk about, which is digital literacy, where you're talking to one of these LLMs, which they're only getting stronger, they're only getting better. And we all skim, we read really quickly. And those of us that were older and we went through traditional schooling, traditional higher education, you can recognize really quickly, well, that's incorrect. That's not really right. But all this is really valuable. And now I understand I have the information that I wanted to get. Yeah. Younger people, though, they might just take it as gospel and just run with it. And that's really the big fear. So your dad brought up a situation that he had, which I thought was kind of shocking. His had to do with incorrect information that has gotten into textbooks from the 1970s onward, and this has to do with chemistry, where I forget which element it was, but it behaves a certain way at a certain temperature, and you use it in water treatment. And when you work in the industry, that all the textbooks have this incorrect number. Yeah. And when you're actually working, you say, okay, well, we know that's incorrect because we work in the industry. Like, we're not looking at textbooks because we know we do this all the time.
Yeah.
But then the younger people at the company were using ChatGPT. So they ended up spending like $500,000 on some hardware that wouldn't accomplish the task because they used ChatGPT, and ChatGPT used the textbook, which was incorrect.
Yeah. Essentially, it's not a professional when
Yeah.
it comes down to it,
Right.
because
Yeah.
they need to be, I guess AI training in these fields are going to have to be, see, it boggles my mind because it's just like, okay, well, we're going to spend all of this time, all of this money trying to create an AI to do X, Y, and Z. I mean, I know in the long run they say it's going to like save money and this and that, but I mean, I guess error, it's still going to, is it still, because it's created by humans, it's having all the human information in it, is it still going to have human error?
Yeah, it certainly will.
And it's still going to have to need people to look at it. You know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
I feel
Well,
like I'm
that's
getting
like
off
why
subject.
well, no, you're not, because this really underscores the
Yeah.
importance of digital literacy. Reading comprehension, understanding when you're looking at information that's been presented, it may not be 100% truth. It might not be factual. It's sort of like when I was a kid, you're with your mom in the grocery store at the checkout counter. And I remember as a kid, I was like 6, 7, and you see the National Enquirer, and it looks like a newspaper. And I'm like, oh my gosh, Mom, there was an alien with the devil face in the clouds. And she's like, no, honey, that's just all like garbage. That's just for fun. And I was just like, why would somebody do that? And that's like so maybe AI would look at the National Enquirer and be like, oh yeah, that's like fact.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's definitely human, like Jacob's word of the year, discernment.
Discernment.
Having human discernment with AI is definitely going to be really important. So I think no matter what, there's probably always going to have to be humans interacting with AI
Right.
in that way, So yeah, that's the interesting thought, is what jobs is AI once it's all been programmed, once it's all been, is it,
Well, I think I did want to bring this up. I can't remember the exact acronym. It's RHLF or RLHF, something like that. And I don't remember what it stands for, but it basically means that humans have a job where they check the results that AI return.
Yeah.
And it ends up helping retrain the model to get the errors fixed. And so they might have like, okay, for the field of chemistry, you have chemists who were helping fix all the errors inside.
Yeah.
And I think that's really interesting. Like, going forward, maybe one of the jobs we have is to like fact check,
AI,
ChatGPT.
Yep.
And that might actually be, I think it already currently is a job, but I just don't know how wide they're spreading their net. Like if they're handling things like in music and film, and like, whether that's even like on the radar for that, but that could be a job for people.
Yeah.
Maybe forever. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the main question and concern is, kids that are in high school right now are going to be entering into college and stuff like that. Like, what should they be looking at?
Yeah.
And so it's like, you have to wonder, like, should we be sticking with like the highly educated, the highly human, degrees?
Sure.
Such as probably medical. I think no matter what, even if a doctor can type in everything, it's still going to take a human to look at the person.
Right.
Now law is definitely a question.
Sure.
Because maybe AI will help quicker looking up past, cases and all of that stuff. But, an AI can't argue,
Yep. Yeah, actually, you've called out a few already. So here's specific examples of tasks that AI is already doing really well. Data sorting and entry, of course. Medical transcription, using AI speech recognition, transcribing doctor-patient conversations with near-perfect accuracy. I mean, you just think about like the famous joke of how terrible a doctor's handwriting is. I mean, so this has got to help a lot. You have basic copywriting, the marketing emails, product descriptions, stuff like that. Legal research.
Yeah, legal research,
Scheduling and logistics, financial data analysis, template-based design, and code generation. Code is huge right now. Claude Opus 4.6. I know Anthropic said by March 31st, 100% of their code needs to be written by Claude, which is just insane. They're not having any
Wow.
human programmers beyond March 31st.
That's crazy. I don't know how that's possible.
It's better than humans. Now,
Yeah.
the scary thing is, like, are humans going to lose the skill to check whether or not the code has an issue that Claude can't solve someday? It's like,
yeah. Well, that's why I think my main thing I want to focus on in the future is education. I mean, should we be educating our kids in a different way in public schools and schools in general? You know,
Yeah.
like, what are the things that we really need to be focusing on?
yeah.
You know, for humans to keep up with that.
Well,
you
there
know.
was something that a line really hit me when we were preparing for this is don't think about future jobs, think about future traits.
Future traits, okay.
And, you know, the things that AI is not going to replace, you brought up empathy. That's one of them.
Yeah.
Character, leadership, moral judgment, creativity rooted in lived experience. Not just like, oh, yeah, like make me a picture of Batman, but what if he was in space? You know, that's not what we're talking about. Faith, values, and conscience.
Yeah.
So I feel like when we talk to our kids, we have to develop the traits that will secure them a, you know, financially prosperous future, rather than being like, we're going to train you to be a lawyer, because the traditional sense of any job I think is completely like out the window at this point, because we can barely think about what's next year going to be like, let alone 2050.
Yeah, and I think the real conversation, like I wrote on my, you know, on the Substack, is, you know, putting tech down some, because you know, like you were talking about earlier, kids in film school can't even sit through a movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, like, we need to be able to put our technology down. And as parents, we need to start doing it ourselves in front of our children. And we need to make sure that kids are, unfortunately, reading.
Yeah.
You know, like, reading comprehension has gone down and stuff like that. And it's just...
Sure.
You know, I think if we were to give any advice right now at this very moment in time, is for your kids to get their reading comprehension up and their span of being able to pay attention.
Their attention span.
Yeah. That's what it's called.
That's what it's called. Yeah.
That's why Jacob's on this with me.
Well, I read an interesting article a couple days ago, and it talked about, since technology started entering our education system, it actually hurts students.
Yeah.
Because we've got, I mean, however many years of evolution where we've learned from engaging with other humans.
Yeah.
And when we're engaging with just a computer screen or something, it lowers our ability to remember, to really, I guess, proceed or develop quickly.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, so now, if we're, because there's actually programs where people are trying to use AI to teach, and there's a lot of controversy around it, whether like they're being honest with the benchmarks and all this kind of stuff, and they're like, you can do in like 2 to 4 hours what traditional schooling takes 6 to 8 hours a day. But at the end of the day, I think kids want to learn from a person. And being around other kids and all that. And so the traditional holding a book in your hand, reading it, and then let's talk about what you read, it's incredibly important. And I think it'll be even more important as time goes on.
Yeah. Yep. So I think, you know, at this moment in time, I think the really important things is kids' attention spans. You know, TikTok, you know, YouTube Shorts, all of those things are really shrinking.
Yeah.
You know, just not just kids, but people's abilities to, like, I mean, like, even YouTube shouldn't even have that fast forward option of, like,
playing it at 2 times
yeah,
speed.
like, I mean, maybe sometimes, like, when I'm watching like a cooking thing, I kind of just wanted to get to it and get past all the people, like, you know, talking about their great grandmother's recipe from her neighbor, you know, like, I can get through that, you know. But when it comes down to it, though, it's like, do we really need, like, it's like everything's like we want to just get to it.
Well, when you said attention span, actually, you triggered a memory. When I first went to Peabody, which is a music conservatory, I didn't grow up in a household where we like went to the symphony. I'd barely heard live music growing up. I was really like scattered. Yeah. You know, I was in band in school and stuff, but I go to Peabody and I was surrounded by students who had, you know, gone to Juilliard Preparatory and like just kids who had really kind of digested symphonic music. And I say symphonic music in particular because, you know, a lot of the symphonies that are studied in the canon of music they consider what counts, they're like 45 minutes long, an hour long. And my attention span was just dismal because I admittedly mostly listened to like pop music growing up. And I think the only symphonic music I really listened to was film scores. So I remember them saying like, oh, you got to listen to, you know, Mahler 5, Rite of Spring. You got to listen to these famous pieces. And back then we used CDs. And I would get the CD and I put the headphones on and I'd lie in my bed in the dorm room. And I'm like, I'm going to listen to this whole thing and I'm not going to drift off. I'm daydream. And I would press play. And like for the first like 5 days, I just fell asleep every time I tried. I'd wake up and be like, damn it, I did it again. You know, because I could only pay attention to something for like 5.5 minutes. And I had to build up my attention span to be able to sit and just do one thing focused. And then, of course, that ended up helping me when I was studying for like my physics exams and stuff like that.
Yeah. So I think that's, if we were to give our tip of the day or something like that, I think that's what's going to be important, because if you think about AI, it is an unbelievable focused, you know, machine. You know, it is, you give it its task and maybe it's not perfect every time, but it can focus in on what exactly it's doing. And the only time, say, like it gets off of its focus is if there's like a glitch or something like that, or you push a button or something, you know what I mean? So I think right now, just being able to intake information as a human, retain that, you know, and expand on it is what's going to be right now the important thing, I think, to probably focus on.
Well, I think the AIs will help us. Well, they'll be more helpful over time because the token windows are really expanding quickly. Because what you're talking about, like the glitch, it's because you'll be having a conversation and it will literally forget what's at the top of the chat that you're having, where in the past, you know, like you're used to talking to a person and imagine you're talking to them and they completely forget how the conversation started. That's what it's been like, you know, but now they're getting the windows that they can kind of talk within are expanding so far that it's like talking to a person. You know, which is really cool, because then the information, it's like having like the smartest friend in your life you've ever had.
I mean, in a way, I mean, it's kind of unfair to compare people to AI. You know, this thing is essentially created to consume everything in such a short amount of time, and it's connected to everything. You know, like literally, like it's like connected to the internet. Like I can't connect the internet to you, and you know, you pull up every, you know, classical.
I'm sure that's coming.
Piece that's ever. Well, I'm sure. Yeah, that's probably with the. But that's another conversation. But you know, I think. So the question is, how do we, you know, expand?
Well, Well, that's actually, you know, where we want to get to. What we should actually prepare kids for, you know, have some kind of direction. So here, the ATM story is the perfect parable, right? The tellers who thrived weren't the ones who fought the machines. They were the ones who learned to become relationship bankers. You know, so McKinsey projects that by 2030, at least 14% of employees globally will need to change careers entirely. It's not great news, but hey, at least it's not higher. The trait that survives every technological shift is the ability to adapt, which I think humans, that's actually our greatest skill. We know how to adapt. So this is actually what we've talking about with our son yesterday. I think one of the greatest traits to have as a human being is curiosity. And the older we get, a lot of times you know people like this, they get older, they're just not curious about anything anymore. They just don't care. But that's actually like the most important skill to have, especially right now, because I don't care how old you are. You need to be engaging and learning about this stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? So curiosity, my favorite word this year, discernment. You know, in a world that's flooded with AI generated content, you have to be able to develop the skill of, like, okay, this is AI slop. Is this real? Is this not? And then, of course, when you're getting text information back from an LLM, you need to be able to read through it and comprehend whether it's nonsense. Is it factual or not? Is it actually the information you need? That kind of thing. Collaboration, I think, is really important. Humans working together are always, that's always going to be a thing. My mom was always talking to me growing up about emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
There's been tons of books written on that. And I think that when you meet someone and you're trying to work with someone who obviously doesn't have it, you realize how valuable it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, I think we're just going to wrap up some of the ideas that we had today. I think
Practical parent moves.
Yeah, practical parent moves. You know, simple things that you can do in your home. You can control your home. You can't control the world, unfortunately, even though I know somebody of us try to do it. But, you know, your home is where you're going to be able to implement all of these things. So, you know, praise effort, not outcomes. You know, noticing how hard your kids are working. You know, normalize mistakes. You know, let your kids struggle. Limit AI doing the thinking for them, I think is going to be a huge one. You know, your kids still we're all, not just your kids, all of us, we still have to think. You know, we can't shut down that part of our brain just yet, I guess.
Yes.
You know, ask, what do you think before giving answers? You know, so if your kid comes to you like, hey, Mom, why is the sky blue? You know, well, I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah.
You know, how can we figure that out together and not just go straight to AI to figure that out? Show them actually how to, like, maybe get a book or look on Google first, you know, before going straight to AI. You know, we have to model learning ourselves, which I think that we do, you know, a fair amount of. You know, at least I'm always trying to learn new, you know, crafts, art forms, you know, stuff like that. And then Jacob, of course, is really, you know, trying to learn all of this AI stuff. So, you know, our kids do see us trying to intake all of these things and then become frustrated and see the normalcy of that.
Sure.
You know, and then, you know, talk about their worth outside of achievement.
Yeah.
You know,
that's a big one, because with all this AI, there's a big emphasis on productivity. Everyone's like, how productive can a person be within the, you know, a work day?
Yeah.
And then it's a lot of pressure on young people, because then it's like their worth is just tied to how productive they can be.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's like, when it comes down to it, AI is still going to do what humans need them to do. It's not just like AI is going to be doing whatever, well, at least it hasn't come Terminator yet, but you know, everything's going to come down to being human and
sure,
you know, all of those things that come along with it. So,
you know, it's funny because these are simple things that we as parents can do because of AI, but when you look at the list, it's like
you should be doing them anyway.
We should be doing them anyway. Yeah. So just to recap, it's 7 things: praise effort, not outcomes; normalize mistakes; let kids struggle; limit AI doing the thinking for them; ask, what do you think, before giving answers; model learning yourself; and talk about worth outside of achievement. 7 things.
Yeah.
And I think it's funny because it's, you know, except for that one line about AI, I'm like, yeah, but that's what parents have always done, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Stick with
it.
You
know, I don't know if it's just putting more emphasis. What word am I saying?
Emphasis.
Emphasis. Oh my goodness. On it. That's really going to drive that home, I think, a little bit more. But
yeah. So we'll put those top 7 things down in the description below the video. And, you know, give us a like, subscribe if you like this, and look out for the next episode next week.